point of attack defense has become a buzzword in the NBA lately. And it's really just a fancy way of saying on-ball defense. And it always really starts with that, right? Stop ball, you'll hear across every gym in America. Well, the Warriors aren't stopping ball. And I know that usually means in transition, but I just mean overall. Simply put, the Dubs are not doing a good enough job staying in front of their man. And the team defense is being put under too much stress. So how can they do a better job individually containing the ball? I use the word containing for a reason, because generally speaking, it's my belief as an on-ball defender, most of the time your mindset should be to stay in front and get a good contest, whether that's a shot or a pass. Make things difficult. And I'm sure you're saying, well, duh. But I think the younger Warriors, a lot of the time, defend with the mindset of trying to make a play or taking away a shot rather than just forcing a tough one. And a lot of the time at this level, that plays right into the offensive player's hands, whether it's drawing a silly foul or just getting beat. Every move works. The young fellas are biting on everything because they're trying to make a play. My advice would be better distance management, learning your sweet spot where you can still contest, but you also have a big enough cushion to recover. And the only way to really figure out what that sweet spot is for you individually is to consciously apply it in game. And then again, the mindset of containing your man, not necessarily stopping them. Hold the integrity of the defense and understand you will have help, but don't take yourself out of the play. Now, the other element of point of attack defense would be navigating screens and high ball screens. Jordan Poole and Klay Thompson have been the biggest culprits when it comes to getting beat on high ball screens. Klay is a bigger body, and we know he doesn't move laterally like he once did. Prime Klay would stay attached and fight over or under, and that kind of masked that he was never really a great switcher or team defender. You become good at what you do, and Klay used to be the on-ball guy. But now, at this stage in his career, you don't necessarily want him on the ball. He struggles to communicate switches on time, and a lot of the time you see him hand somebody off too late or never switch at all and kind of just die on the screen. He has to anticipate better and talk earlier. Now, Poole could certainly stand to communicate earlier. I think that's a key for all defenders when it comes to navigating screens. He also has a fundamental issue as well when he's fighting over the top of screens in particular. Instead of stepping up and sliding over the screen or turning and getting skinny, he tries to step around the screen, and he usually gets hung on the screen or even trips. Now, I don't know if this is him trying to sell a foul, but it's not working. He needs to, again, anticipate the screen better and then step up higher and get in a better position before it comes so he can get over the top. If you watch him now, it's almost as if he doesn't even expect a screen to arrive until it does, and then that's too late. So even if they do clean that up, and the eventual return of GP2 would probably go a long way in that point of attack defense, this is the NBA, and you're going to get broken down regardless. This is where the Warriors had shined in the past. Team defense, help the help, rotations on a string, all tied together by arguably the greatest team defender of all time in Draymond Green. Clearly, the team defense hasn't been up to par either, but it's really a symptom of that point of attack breaking down too easily. Way too often, the team is scrambling to rotate before they're even really set or have found their own man. And Draymond has been overcompensating by roaming too much and coming off his too early. But the overcompensation, it's a team-wide issue. The root of it, I think, is the lack of size. Now, a lot has been made lately about Steve Kerr not wanting to play big men. The reality is, without Andrew Bogut, they don't sniff those first two finals. And even during the OPKD years, there was Zaza and JaVale and David West. You notice now, we have to send help on every big man, regardless of their skill or not, right? We just have to send some help because there's just too much of a size differential. We're giving up too much in that area. And so that collapses the defense and provides even more open threes. It's ironic, isn't it, right? The team that's responsible for the three ball era doesn't seem to properly prioritize defending the three ball. How many times have you seen someone come off a strong side corner or two collapse into the paint, leaving a guy open for a warm-up three? The point of attack defense has broken the trust of the defense. And the lack of size has everyone overcompensating down into the paint. The other thing that I've heard a lot lately is, boy, we miss Mike Brown, right? Mike Brown is getting a lot of credit in hindsight for last year's defense. The truth is, those were different dogs. If Kenny Atkinson and Mike Brown were both training a dog for a fight, Mike's dog was from a junkyard and had to scrap for its meals, while Kenny's dog was a house dog, right? 3 meals a day, slept on the couch. It wouldn't really matter what type of training or motivation Kenny used to get his dog ready. The want and the why from the dogs would be the separator. Mike Brown had a group of guys last year hungry and out to prove something. Kenny has a group of guys fresh off a championship with new money in their pockets. So if you can't simulate that hunger, you have to be on point strategically. KYP, know your personnel. Way too often, the team doesn't seem to understand not only the tendencies of the opponent, but the tendencies of each other, their own personnel. For instance, when it comes to this overhelping issue, if it's Wiggins, Kuminga, or GP2 who appears to be beat, help late, if at all. Let them use their superpower ability, their athleticism, to recover and play vertical. If it's Clay or JP being put in screen actions over and over again, start talking extra early. There's a stoppage in play, let Draymond know, hey, I can recover on mine. Just stunt and get back to yours. I know. All this much easier said than done. Perhaps in these final 20 games or so, they will be forced into showing some want and urgency on the defensive end. Because frankly, I don't think they're going to have a choice. But I do think having a big body would also go a long way in just taking up space in the paint and letting guys stay home on their man just a little more. Even if it's just a step, it can make a big difference and help build back some trust so they can defend as a team again. Those are my big picture overarching thoughts on the defensive problems this season. Probably not telling you something you don't already know if you're tuning into the games. This stuff is pretty obvious, and that's why it's so frustrating. And there's a chicken or egg thing when it comes to the coaching staff, and the staff has caught a lot of flack this season. And hey, they deserve some of this. Some of this preparation, again, the KYP stuff. I remember a Utah game a few weeks ago where Markkanen came out and had like 4 first quarter threes. And it was like, so what exactly was the game plan? Bogdanovich, same thing, like a lone shooter on a team, and somehow they're open. But when you go and you listen to the staff, they're going to tell you, hey, that's not what the game plan was. So it's kind of hard to place blame. And it really doesn't matter where the blame and where you want to put it. It matters how do you correct it, right? But there are 2 other points that I wanted to make before I conclude this video. As I went through the footage for this, I realized I called out Poole and Clay individually, and rightfully so, but I think Steph belongs in that category as well. As I watched some of these clips and looked for some of these clips, Steph was making a ton of mistakes as well. Not as much on the ball as off the ball. His help in team defense, his focus there has been terrible, particularly coming off the strong side corner. Now, the other element that's been brought up to me several times is, why is the defense so much worse on the road than at home? And there are several theories out there. I'll give you mine. I think that, again, back to the dog analogy, and the inability to simulate a hunger for this season, an urgency that's just not there, right? And so I think that they are much more dependent on feeding on the home crowd energy. Offense leads to defense. Defense leads to offense. The crowd goes, the energy gets up, and they're more reliant on that energy to find some sort of urgency defensively. And then secondly, you heard Steve Kerr talk about this a lot. Is secondly a word? I don't know. But you heard Kerr talk about this a lot in the beginning of the season when Klay was forcing shots, but shot selection. A lot of the time, again, you hear the term defense leading to offense. What's the inversion of that, right? Bad offense leading to bad defense. And I think on the road, they get even more three happy and they force quicker shots. And that's going to lead to the opponent getting out in transition. And so you combine those two elements. I think that's two of the symptoms of why defensively and overall they're so much worse on the road. Now, I brought up those big men at the end of the video. Let me know in the comments who you would prefer. I prefer Boogie Cousins, and you might say, well, he's not a rim protector. He's not a defensive big man. I understand that, but I think that he could solve several issues. One, it's not necessarily always about blocking shots. It's about a big physical body in there that makes drivers second guess going to the rim with authority. Boogie Cousins certainly fits that bill. He is a rebounder. He is a space eater, right? And then he would also solve some of the free throw line issues offensively, right? He's a guy where we could throw it to the post. We could operate inside out instead of outside in like we've seen all season long. So I put my vote in Boogie Cousins' ballot, but I think we need to add somebody else. The way the season has gone, the way Bob Myers has talked, all this stuff, I'm not going to hold my breath on it, but it would certainly be nice to have a big body to just maintain the integrity of the defense. Not everybody being so worried about crashing in for rebounding and helping because too many guys are doing it. No, not enough guys are out on the perimeter staying on theirs. We don't have the length and athleticism that we once did to crash in and get back out, especially the way the game's being played in 2023. Anyway, hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.